Good evening and welcome to tonight's side event on the digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. I'm Zoe Faulkner from the Board of Directors of the International Lactation Consultants Association. Tonight's event is co-sponsored by Bangladesh, Brazil, Lesotho, Mexico and Kenya, and hosted by IFBAN, the International Baby Food Action Network, ILCA, Save the Children, the World Obesity Federation, and UNICEF. Before I go any further, a little housekeeping. So we are not expecting a fire drill, and the fire exits are as indicated, and the bathrooms are out in the corridor. Tonight's event will be recorded and it will be made available via the sign-up mailing list at the end of the week, Friday probably, but Friday, Saturday most likely. After the event, we'll be inviting you to stay for drinks and encourage you to talk together to strengthen the collaboration on this very important topic. So that brings me to the purpose of tonight's meeting. We are focusing on the digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. We will highlight the concerning and significant rise of the range of aggressive digital marketing practices promoting breast milk substitutes. We will be highlighting its pervasive and misleading nature and impact on breastfeeding practices, pregnant women, parents and society, including children and women's right to optimal health, and in turn, the impact on global health. Further, we will discuss how digital marketing can be regulated to mitigate these impacts. New parents increasingly spend time in the digital environment, and the commercial milk formula industry is using complex tactics to push marketing, targeting young families, and tapping into their parental concerns in the digital space, often via their phone, in their pocket, and in the intimacy of their own home, in an insidious way, undermining breastfeeding, pathologizing normal baby behavior, and promoting and idealizing their products. The digital space, as it is today, did not exist and was inconceivable when the World Health Assembly first adopted the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitute in 1981. And it is time to further protect infants and the public by shining a light on the need for a resolution to regulate the digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. I know you're all here because you are concerned about the harms of digital marketing and also believe in the transformative potential of breastfeeding in improving lives and public health. And together, we can work to protect and achieve that transformation. We will first have 4 presentations from subject experts, and then we will move and hear from member states. I would therefore like to introduce Dr. Nigel Rollins. He joined the WHO Department of Maternal, Newborn and Child and Adolescent Health and Aging in 2008 as a scientist and is currently acting head of research for the department. His work focuses on research to improve child survival, growth and development. He will be presenting the new 360 report from WHO. Nigel, please come up.
Thank you very much indeed, Zoe, for the invitation and the warm welcome. And thank you to all the organisers for the invitation. So the 360 report, which is not yet published, and it will be some weeks yet before it is actually incorrectly named, because 360 implies that we have a complete and full understanding. But in fact, we are never up to date with actually the strategies and the ways by which marketing occurs. But we're closer in that sense. The report is as much a synthesis of evidence from around various countries, and there's lots of examples that we have in the room today. But it goes on to describe why marketing of commercial milk formula is different from the marketing of other products. Because marketing in itself is not wrong, it's part of standard business. And then it goes on to identify some of the actions that can be used to mitigate the impact of marketing at the level of national health authorities, governments, health professionals, but also at civil society level. So marketing works. We know that, whether it is a phrase, a color, a font, all of these are used to identify a brand, to sell a product. And it is very, very successful. All companies engage in marketing. And the marketing of commercial milk formula is also successful, and it works. Between $2.5 and $3.5 billion are spent every year just on marketing. And the marketers, they know how to do it, whether it be emblems, packaging, the little look of the child saying that this is going to affect the child's development. They know how to do it. They start by understanding through research the lived experience of the customer. This is true for all marketing. And so with respect to formula, they get inside and they understand the lives of women and families. And they then translate those lived experiences into marketing messages. They identify what they call the highest order emotional benefit, because that is the trigger for purchasing. They appeal to the emotional mind, because they know that is where the decisions occur for purchasing. Whereas in public health, we often appeal to the rational mind, the p-value, the benefits of whatever, or the evidence of this or that. But actually, when it comes to relating to the individual, it is happening in the emotional space. They simplified everyday problems. It's easier to complicate than simplify. Simple ideas enter the brain quicker and stay there longer. Brutal simplicity of thought is therefore a painful necessity. This is in the lobby of one of the world's largest marketing companies. And it is clear they have it written in black and white because they reduce life's problems to something that is black or white. They also influence the business environment. So this is maybe not seen to us every day, but they modify composition of formula products. They lobby, they influence the political environment, they interfere with the regulatory environment, all to create that favorable setting for marketing their products. And this is true of all businesses to greater or lesser extent. And then it is important to understand this because digital marketing does not happen against nothing. It is against this entire history and knowledge that digital marketing then occurs. And there are three really important ways by which digital marketing has completely elevated the capabilities of marketing of a product. First of all, it provides unparalleled access to and information about consumers. They understand our preferences almost better than we ourselves. Secondly, it integrates social and commercial influences, and it is able to disguise marketing almost as objective help on social media. And then lastly, it is the big data and the machine learning that can deliver micro-targeted messaging in real time, and it can use sales, location, activity patterns to understand whether a message is being favorably received or not. And it is able to modify that in real time. So some examples, and we will see more of this later. Now these are mock-ups to avoid copyright issues, but they are taken from real-life social media pages. But if you look down at the bottom of the page, here, on this, they are asking for an email and the date of birth or the expected date of delivery. And that expected date of delivery anchors a marketing strategy. Because when they know that the child is going to be born, they know the age and they know the product. They know when you're likely to be running into some difficulties, and they can target their messaging according to that. On this one, this was a post from a South African Facebook page from a commercial milk formula market, and they were inviting the consumer to send a text-based message. Now, they didn't even indicate what it was about. They have secret clubs where they bring people together, but all of this enables a personal approach to the mother at another point in time. Influencers, we will hear more about later, but they are paid to use their leverage within and their personal identity to influence consumers. And here we see how things like free gifts are used to hook and get you into an advert. Even World Breastfeeding Week was used by one company as a hook to get people into their site. So why is marketing of commercial milk formula different? It crosses thresholds of what we would call ethical, decent, and fair, aside of anything to do with laws. It uses disruptive and distorting information, and that undermines informed decision-making. It undermines the basic human right of knowledge for decision-making. It also aims to shape the environment and misrepresents science to build a belief and a value in the product. And that is something very distinctive. And this is about babies and the future health of children for decades to come. In a very deliberate way, it exploits the very sort of everyday lived reality of aspirations, tiredness, uncertainty, anxiety as a way in on people's lives. And it aims to shift the perception of normal over time so that we don't realize that we're believing that formula milk is inevitable. There are many things that can be done, and the report identifies a number of those. But with respect to marketing of digital here are just 4 things, and we will hear more of this in the course of the next presentations. First of all, artificial intelligence and machine learning and other innovative technologies can in fact be used to monitor digital platforms. So we should not be naive to that opportunity. The code needs to be interpreted and understood with respect to digital marketing, and for that we need the guidance, and we'll hear more about that. Digital platforms and the data supply chain need to be held accountable. We hear about this on the radio every day. And lastly, international cooperation is needed to regulate data and digital technologies. And just to sort of say, this is happening. You know, in my own country, Ireland, there is an online safety bill, and they are seriously looking at the relevance of this to formula milk marketing. So really, just in conclusion, what is the big challenge? Because we have a history of marketing, and we have the addition of digital marketing. But what I believe is really central to this is that the power imbalance between these commercial interests and those with a duty and mandate to protect the rights and needs of children and mothers can only be addressed through political leadership and action. And for that, we need civil society to continue to drive political accountability. So I'll stop there, and I look forward to hearing the rest as we get more into the digital space. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nigel. Many thanks. That was such a great way to kick off this side event. So next we're going to hear from Patty Rundle. Patty is from IFBAN Global Council. Patty has been working on the issue since before the code was adopted, running company campaigns like the Nestle boycott and helping governments bring in legislation. Her particular focus has been conflicts of interest, in case you didn't know already. And she's presenting on the 2024 Code Status Report. Thank you, Patty.
Great. Now, what do I do in pressing this?
You press the arrow in the right direction.
And I hope...
Yes.
Look. You were pleased, Larry, that I've used that. So, hello, everybody. It's absolutely wonderful to see everybody here in a packed room. Not enough seats. That's wonderful. We needn't have worried, even though there are 100 side events, aren't there? Not tonight, but quite a lot. So we're really, really pleased. Thank you very much. My task tonight is very specific, and because we've got many people to speak, I won't sort of go on and on. Tell me off when I wander off into the wrong direction. Okay, so the code, this status of the code report comes out every 2 years, and it's done jointly with WHO, UNICEF, and IBFAN, and it covers all the products under the scope of the code. Okay, so even though it says marketing of breast milk substitute, that is the title of the code, but it actually covers all the products. All right. Now, I just want to quickly go back. 1981. This is the international code. It's the first consumer code of its kind. There was nothing like that. I don't think anybody really know how to tackle transnational companies. What on earth do you do with them? I didn't know people would be quite proud to have a brand because it would actually signify, something marvelous to have a branded product. I mean, even today, children and others think it's great to have a brand. But 1981 was this first thing to tackle something called commerciogenic malnutrition, something that happens because marketing has taken over and actually caused babies and children to get ill and sick and die. So what IBFAN has done, and I'll come to that in a minute, since that code, we've had 20 resolutions plus 20 resolutions and decisions. Some of the decisions are, slightly less than the resolutions, but all these strengthen and clarify that original code in 1981, and they all should be read together. Absolutely clear on that. And they also keep it on the issue on the WHO agenda, which was the reason everything in the WHO constitution talks about actually member states coming back to WHO and making sure that they are actually kept appraised, that the DG is kept appraised of how these governments are implementing the code. That's actually written in, so we must never fall prey to actually getting rid of that facility for member states to come together. We've only got a week. In those days it used to be 10 days or even two weeks to have the assembly, and I still think it's crazy that we're there till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night to do this huge agenda. And it squeezes that opportunity for member states to bring in resolutions, which are the one thing that really do translate and governments can use to bring into their laws and actually protect their children. Really important. So please, if you hear anybody saying too many resolutions, yes, there may be some old resolutions, but these are the ones that keep children alive. So don't let's go anywhere near saying there's too many resolutions on the baby. Every 2 years you should be looking at the marketing and seeing what's happening out there and actually reporting back to WHO saying, oi, this is happening. This is really worrying. What are we going to do about, artificial breast milk or whatever it is? So I just quickly go back. This code would never have happened without civil society outrage with what happened. Children were dying. And in 1974, War on Wands, Baby Killer, translated into German. I won't go through all that. You can have these slides after if you like. But it prompted the famous trial, Nestle Kills Babies, and then went through to Senator Edward Kennedy proposing an international code. So it came from the USA. Amazingly, don't forget that. The USA actually said we must have some global tool in which to tackle corporate marketing. And also this is the corporate commerciogenic malnutrition. So really this is how the code happened, and I won't spend any, there's not enough time. We also, through IPFAN, which is a network of 240 groups in over 100 countries now, we had something called the International Code Documentation Center, trained over 1,800 government officials from 148 countries. Okay, and we do charts and do this, do that, and reports, keeping member states appraised of what was actually going on. Now we come, WHO, we had to close down, or the ICDC, which is a terrible shame. Money doesn't come to groups like us because we're openly critical of companies. A lot of groups are not openly critical of companies, and so it's easier for them to get money. We will not take any money that is going to stop us from saying whatever it is that is harming children, okay? And in that way, you're really poor. So we're really pleased that WHO and UNICEF have stepped in and actually helped out in making sure that we have these, every 2 years, really good reports that tell you what's going on in each country. So we evaluate the national legal measures and get copies of the laws, each law evaluated against a detailed checklist, okay? And so we're asking, you to tell us if something's wrong. There's a scoring algorithm that categorizes national code and legal measures. And you see it's divided between substantially aligned, moderately aligned, some provisions. So, you want to be in that top quad, don't you? You really want to be there with the substantially aligned, if not more 100% aligned. Because each time you have something that's weak in your code, you can be damn sure that companies will get in. It's like there's no point in locking your front door and your side windows and everything. They'll come in the back door. So you have to make sure that you are protecting your children all round in every way possible. And the simplest laws are actually those that are the most effective because they're actually clear, everyone can understand them. Don't have tweaky this and that. Just have a clear, and don't allow any marketing, and don't allow the companies to come in and do this. Results, March 27, 146 countries, that's 91% of all annual births, have some of the provisions of the code. I mean, that's 40, how many years we're talking? 43 years after the code. So, okay, it's better than, it's not nothing. So 33 of those laws are substantially aligned, 40 are moderately aligned, 73 have some provisions, 48 have no legal measures at all. Now, we know that the ones, or we would hear from you, of why those laws are not all substantially aligned. You need to come back and look and ask, well, what were those forces on our policymakers? Why was it? Oh, 1 minute, look, thank you. Breastfeeding rates are better when laws are substantially aligned with the code. So this is all proven. So, you just need that. And remember, I have to say, breastfeeding, it's not about pushing breastfeeding on anywhere. It's just about removing the obstacles. And those women who don't want to, that's their decision. It's not about that. We really must make that absolutely clear. The code is literally to make sure that every woman can make their own decision without misleading information. Must move on. Case studies, this is when you get the report, show how industry uses the same tactic as the tobacco industry to prevent, delay legislation, maneuvering to hijack the political space, exaggerating economic importance, manipulating public opinion, fabricating support through front groups, discrediting proven science, and intimidating governments. You all know this, because this happens all the time. And just be aware that that is what's going on. So this is my last slide. I've got 2 do's. Look, I messed up there. Do you know if your law is strong enough? If you don't, check that code status report, see your score, and be embarrassed, or delighted, as the case may be, and then go to the IPFAN website. And if you don't know your law, go to the IPFAN website and they're all there. You just click on it, and thanks to Magdalena Woolery, she gathered them all together, searched them all out. So thank you very much. I've done that. Was I late? No. Okay. Thank you. And I should just say, it's because we're not going to have an opportunity, a wonderful report on sugar, which you can come and get. It's over there. Thanks.
So, thank you, Patty, for that very comprehensive summary and history of the Code Status Report. Really, really valuable. So now we're going to invite Agnes Michael. She's a master's student in global health at the University of Bergen, and she's focusing her thesis research on the social media marketing of BMS. She's currently an intern at Save the Children Norway. Over to you.
Good evening, colleagues. Thank you, Zoe, for the introduction. I'd like to share with you the key findings of a scoping review that aimed to map really recent evidence of social media and influencer marketing. Nigel already mentioned the emotional aspect of digital marketing, and Patty just mentioned that each mother should make her own decision. So we want to look into how social media and influencer marketing undermine informed choice. So when we talk about social media marketing, it's a very personalized type of marketing. Companies have direct access to their customers, and they can cater directly to their customers' needs. Breast milk substitute companies work with mommy influencers, that's the official term. They're mothers who share their motherhood experiences online. They're seen as their followers as role models. Moms look up to them for an advice, and they also create a sense of community. Very recent study from this year showed that 44% of new mothers were visiting mommy influencer profiles every day. And also another study shows that people who follow social media influencers were found to attempt to imitate their behaviors. Here we can see a screenshot from a marketing agency specializing in influencer marketing. And what they clearly state is that people trust people, not brands. And they're encouraging brands to leverage influencers to give their brands the trust. So the trust here, when it comes to breast milk substitute marketing, it's a very important word, trust and credibility. So we have to ask ourselves when it comes to the emotional side of digital marketing, how ethical it actually is. We have to remember that being a new parent is a very, very stressful situation to be in, and new parents are very vulnerable to external influences. And breast milk substitute companies, they buy into the trust and credibility that influencers have built with their followers over years. For example, here we have an influencer from America, from the US. She was a professional athlete, so that's how she originally became famous, and she gained followers, following online. And here we can see her sponsored post on Instagram. It was sponsored by a formula brand. But what she states, the way she described the post is, we combo fed with Bobby right from the start. And she says, I did my research, and I felt so comfortable with my choice. So the ethical question here is it actually her choice and her decision, or she wrote it only because she got paid for that? And if a mother sees that post on her phone at the doctor's office, is she asking herself, wait a minute, is that Tara's personal choice, or she only wrote that because she got paid for that? So we wanted to find very recent evidence of social media marketing to actually understand the scope of the issue. We conducted an academic search that resulted in finding 12 recent studies published in the past 4 years. And we found evidence in 18 countries. And we found evidence on social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp with direct messages. And also some local social media platforms in Thailand and in China. So here we have a very colorful pie chart. So all the 12 studies from 18 countries combined showed over 5,000 instances of digital media marketing. We used articles of the code to guide the way we analyzed the results. So here on the top part, you can see the instances of marketing strategies that used images and text idealizing formula use, health and nutrition claims, promotion to the general public, and mechanisms for sale. So this part over here, those are marketing strategies that we've seen in traditional media. They're a more traditional type of marketing. However, when we move to this part, those are more of a soft sell marketing techniques. They're more subtle and more sophisticated. You wouldn't directly think that this is a marketing strategy. We see influencer marketing, providing educational material on a large scale, and initiating direct contact engagement building. So that's the biggest part of all the marketing instances that we found after analyzing the 12 studies. So now I would like to show you some of the examples that the studies have found. Here we have an influencer from Indonesia. She has almost 5 million followers. Here we can see her playing with her son, and we see an growing up milk standing right next to them. We don't know if the baby is actually using the product, but looking at the picture, you would assume so. And this is an example of cross-promotion. When we move to the next slide, we see that in Indonesia, you can buy infant formula, that the packaging looks exactly the same as the growing up milk, and the guidance clearly states that there should be different color schemes and designs and names. We also have examples of providing educational material. After analyzing the 12 studies, we found that there were over 700 violations. Here we have an example from the Philippines. There was an Abbott brand organized a Facebook Live event describing pregnancy in time of COVID-19. So again, the company doesn't directly promote their product. However, they want to be seen as a brand that cares about mother's health, her health, and her child's health. So again, another soft sell marketing, very subtle marketing. And here we have an interview with the company representative from Mexico that says, we do work with a group of influencers. They do not mention the product or claims. They simply participate with our experts, with a doctor, to speak about a topic of general interest for the mother. Here we have another example from Mexico. There was a live Facebook event on child's health. And not a single product is mentioned here, but we know that the same brand sells infant formula, and we can see that the colors are very similar. So again, they're trying to build the trust, the credibility, showing parents that we care about your child, we care about you, and just in case we have a product that you might find useful at some point in the future. And here we have examples of initiating direct contact with mothers. Online messaging services such as WhatsApp are very hard to monitor. And because of that, they evade scrutiny by public health authorities. Here we have one example from South Africa of joining a group chat. And here we have examples from Indonesia where mothers are being rewarded for registering for a lecture on C-section delivery. So again, not a single product is mentioned. Here we have an example from, it was an interview with a mother in Vietnam, and she scrolled through Facebook, and she said that I scrolled through Facebook and saw an advertisement about free samples of powder milk for pregnant mothers. I registered and got free samples during my first pregnancy. With this pregnancy, I logged into the community groups on Facebook and heard peers advising about Japan's powder milk for pregnant mothers. I looked for it and I bought it. So here we see again that mothers use social media. They look for the community groups for advice and for information. And companies know about it and they take advantage of that. So I think if there is one thing that I want you to take home from tonight is that brands use social media and influence marketing to build credibility and trust, and that we really have to act fast to catch up with modern marketing techniques to protect and promote breastfeeding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agnes. That was really helpful, and to have so many countries illustrated in your presentation was very, very powerful. So moving on, our next speaker is Dr. Lawrence Grummer-Stroon. He is unit head in the WHO Department of Nutrition and Food Safety, and is widely known in the breastfeeding research and advocacy communities. Do come up. Larry will be presenting on the WHO guidance on digital marketing of breast milk substitutes.
Thank you, Zoe, and good evening, everyone. So we want to talk about, so what are we going to do about this problem? Nigel and Agnes really laid out what are the problems with digital marketing. I think they might be shocking to many people. You may have heard about these, but seeing them are so real to us. So what do we do about it? 4 years ago, thanks to Bangladesh, who put this forward to the World Health Assembly, that we actually needed to have more understanding of this issue and take it to guidance. So they asked us for a report on what is happening in digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. We came back in 2022, 2 years ago, with a published report that really documented the nature of this. I won't go over all the details in a very long report, but just some of the key messages that came out of that was that this really has become the dominant form of marketing in many countries around the globe. This isn't just an emerging, a little bit here and there, we can pull out specific examples, but it really is becoming dominant. It is very effective. The examples that they had in that the report documented showed how this can really be extremely more effective than any other traditional marketing, because it does things like take women when they're most vulnerable, when they're thinking about an issue. For example, am I producing enough milk? And they're Googling about that. The algorithms can turn that into an ad that addresses exactly their concern and connect them, that they can immediately purchase something from that. So it's extremely effective. Highly targeted, that goes back to the kind of information Nigel was sharing, that they get your email address, the dates of birth of your children, all kinds of information of your history, of what you've been Googling about, all of that information so that they can target exactly the kinds of messages that are going to be effective to you. Oftentimes, these things aren't even recognizable as advertising. They just seem to be, well, this is the first thing that popped up in my Google feed. It must be an interesting article. Ways that it is fed to you as information and subliminal messages sometimes coming through here. And because it is not seen as advertising, it's often below the radar screens of our regulators, who might be saying, of course we want to regulate this, but they have no way of seeing it. And sometimes they come directly into your own feed and aren't even recognized as advertising that could be seen by anyone else. So we documented all of this. Went back to the World Health Assembly, told them about the report, made it publicly available, and the Assembly said, okay, thank you very much for telling us about the problem. What do you want us to do about it? So 2 years ago, World Health Assembly again called for a decision asking us to develop guidance, and WHO stepped forward with this. As we do with most of our guidance documents, we put together a technical advisory group. We're always trying to look to the experts on the outside. Really wanted to look to people from around the world, make sure we were representing all regions of the world, low-income and high-income countries included. Get their expertise in a wide variety of different ways. So looking at those who were looking at consumer protection, those that really understood digital marketing, consumer psychology issues, legal issues around this, multilateral, because we know this is crossing across national borders, ethical issues, and those, of course, who'd been working on the code previously. They are really the ones behind the guidance that's moving forward to really say how can we take this on. Wanted to look at the evidence, so looked at evidence reviews, systematic reviews of what is happening, as well as systematic reviews of what can actually work to address this digital space. There are other WHO documents about digital marketing, not on breast milk substitutes, but on other products that are of concern. So we wanted to make sure we were building off of what WHO has already published here. Did a separate analysis just to really say, well, what are our options? And let's try to unpack those and commission that on the outside so that the expert group wasn't having to come up with all the ideas on their own, but actually had someone who had delved into the details on this. Developed draft guidance and put it out there for public consultation. Anyone in the world could give their comments in, including member states. A number of comments that came in that invited us to reshape some of the guidance, certain areas that weren't quite as clear to people that we needed to clarify, a lot of issues around the scope of what were we including here, how do we actually make that very clear to them. So we improved it based on the comments that we got. And then put it through legal review through multiple legal experts around this to make sure that we were saying things that actually would be feasible in a legal framework. It's important in looking at this guidance to understand, so what is new and different? We already have a code of marketing of breast milk substitutes that says many things shouldn't be happening. And many of the examples that you saw tonight, you could say, well, that's obviously promotion. Doesn't the code say we shouldn't have promotion? And what this really came out in the review of all of this was that what we're seeing here is the kind of marketing wasn't even possible when the code was written. We have whole new strategies. You might say they're all advertising, but they're being done in different ways than were done before. The influencer marketing that was being talked about earlier, who's actually carrying this out? Many things that we might just say, oh, we're just going on to play a game, or I'm just doing a website to get more information. Chat services that we can have conversations among mothers, not knowing that industry might be embedded in those chat conversations. Or even when they're not, that they are being up-liked or given greater interest just because they happen to be saying things that industry likes, that they want to see reviewed much more. So things that are being done to make us really understand the marketing strategies. New strategies that really weren't there before. We weren't seeing cross-promotion issues, promotions of the brand itself as a major way to promote products, to where companies can now say, well, we're not promoting that product, we're just promoting how we're a good company, but this actually does turn into sales. Advisory services that they're engaging in, and influencers that was talked about earlier. A broad set of actors that are involved here. It used to be that the companies just paid an ad firm to create an ad, and out it goes. But now we have the hosts of our internet platforms, navigators who are providing the information of how can you actually get to the mothers themselves and owning their information and connecting all their information together. So many different players who are participating in this marketing and making money off of it. So what does this turn into in our recommendations? We're not going to go into the details here. There are copies on the tables as you came in. Invite you to go into the details. The first set of recommendations are really just reiterating the principles that are there in the code, but applying them. How do these actually play out in what we're seeing today? So at one level, they're not really saying anything new. The code already says there should be no promotion to the general public. The code already says that we should not be giving out any free samples. We shouldn't have any gifts. There shouldn't be any direct or indirect contact from the companies to the individuals. But what we call out in the guidance here is that how does this actually take place in a digital space so that your legislation that is trying to stop this is actually calling that out. The code didn't stop with just saying no promotion. It called out multiple articles. How does promotion actually happen? So we need to make sure we're updating our legislation to cover the new ways that these kinds of things are actually happening. We covered that in direct-to-consumer. We dealt with it on healthcare, and dealt with it at point-of-sale retail environments as well. There's another recommendation about extending the scope of this out to other products, because it's oftentimes the same brands, the same kinds of marketing that's being done as we look at complementary foods. And so we reiterate the issues that were there in WHO 69.9 guidance that was adopted in 2016, and make sure that those provisions are also reflected here in the digital space. A number of issues about monitoring and enforcement, because these are some of the key issues that we're seeing with digital marketing, is that it's hard to catch these. When they come quickly across the screen, someone sees them, they read them, and then they disappear again. How can a regulator actually stop those things? And so when we get into the monitoring and enforcement, we look at issues of, well, who's actually responsible? Some of this deals with cross-border issues of who actually made the ad. Was someone outside of my country, so do I have legal jurisdiction? So we try to unpack that you can actually hold people responsible who are in your country. Identifying the government agencies who are responsible for this, so you're actually saying, we can't just say this shouldn't happen, but we actually spell out who is responsible for dealing with it. Lays out a number of options for how monitoring can happen. Some of that is actually easier in this space. We don't have to have people driving down the road and looking at billboards and taking pictures of them, because they can actually appear on their desktop directly. But it does take the kinds of AI tools that were talked about earlier, different mechanisms to capture information that is popping across people's cell phones. A lot of examples that are growing on this, and I'm sure there will be many more examples going forward in the future. And we also need to make sure that we're applying appropriate sanctions. Not everything requires the same level of fines. You know, some things might be worth a $100,000 fine. Other things are very minor. It's a person who has a minor stake in this, and you might say that they're not responsible at that kind of level. So how do we actually unpack what's appropriate for each level of these? And then finally, some additional considerations in terms of the options of responding to the cross-border marketing, what really is within the jurisdiction of each country, responsibilities that really go to the players in this, whether it's the marketers, the manufacturers and distributors of the formula, or to the players who are actually holding these, to the marketing firms. Actually, how do we hold them accountable? And then finally, recognize that we need to be looking at this going forward into the future as well. What we know about in the marketing in this space in 2024 is likely going to look very different in 2030. And so we're going to have to keep updating this as new techniques and strategies move forward. Just want to close with a few implementation issues in terms of we do need to revise our legislation in most countries to capture these things. We have to think about e-commerce legislation, not just code laws themselves, but put this really into the whole business of e-commerce regulation. Think about monitoring solutions, both technological and monitoring and funding issues for that. Look at options for doing this in cross-border treaties and agreements within regions. And finally, we have to stay on top of this issue as it evolves over time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Larry, for that very comprehensive run-through of the WHO guidance and the importance of the monitoring and the challenge, actually, of the cross-border nature of digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. So we're now moving into the next section of our event tonight, and we're going to be inviting the member states that are supporting this event up onto the stage and hearing from them individually. So I'm going to shuffle along, and I'd like to start by inviting Dr. Lopez Ridiora from Mexico, who's the Undersecretary for Health Prevention and Promotion, to the stage. Sorry.
He's my boss.
He's your boss. And I've got it wrong, and I've written it down. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
It's Ricardo, isn't
Yes.
it? Okay, I do apologise.
No, don't
It's
worry.
Ricardo Lopez, which I had written down. But
Thank you, sorry.
Anyway, would you like to take a seat? And then we have Dr. Afrina Mahood, Director of Planning, Directorate General of Health Services in Bangladesh. If you'd like to come and take a seat. Yeah.
Great.
And then from Brazil, we have Dr. Ana Estela Haddad, the Vice Minister, Secretary of Information and Digital Health from the Ministry of Health. Please do come and take a seat. And then we have Dr. Mahioso Rangali Obuto from Obango, from Lesotho, who's the Acting Director General in the Ministry of Health. Please do come up. And we have from Kenya, Dr. Martin Seriengo, who's the Director of the Department of International Health Relations. And do we have enough chairs?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Excellent. So, have we definitely got enough space? I'm going to shift along a little bit more, because you're far more important than me right now. Right, so we now have this important question to answer. So what we'd be really interested to find out is how the marketing of breast milk substitutes is affecting your national goals for maternal, infant and young child nutrition, and how your government is meeting the challenge of digital marketing. And I wonder if we go to Kenya on the far end to start with. Would you like to kick off with what's going on in your country? Perhaps just swing it towards you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak at this event. It's very nice to speak after very powerful presentations that have been made that lays the ground for us to talk about this subject. My name is Dr. Martin Sirengo. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, having practiced for a number of years before I joined health management. And this subject is very dear to my heart, not just because I've been sent to speak on behalf of the Director General for Health, but because I've also been the head of the Prevention of Mother-to-Child Transmission of HIV program for a period of 4 years. And during that time, that's when I actually understood there was that and the undercurrents that happen when it comes to this subject of breast milk substitute advertising and promotion. So I think the best way to start this is really to recall the clarion call for UNICEF that speaks to the need for us to give the best nutrition to our children as the fundamental ground for growth and development. Because research and evidence shows that with good nutrition, children actually do better in life in terms of not just health, but also in school. Now, for Kenya, I was very keen when Patty was making the presentation and the rating and the algorithm and I was wondering where are we? Where is Kenya? And I'm glad to learn that we are among the ones that have implemented the laws and regulations substantially at a score of 82%.
And
yes.
Can I take that opportunity to ask you directly
Yes.
then about digital marketing?
Yes,
What's
sure.
the situation?
Yes, so digital marketing is a concern for all of us because we've made progress in terms of breastfeeding rates over the years. If you look at our Kenya Demographic Health Survey, we have improved from about 32% in the year 2008 to the current one of about 62%, which is quite good progress. But we have not just reached there because of the work that we are doing in the health sector space. In 2012, we actually enacted a law for promotion for control, of breast milk substitutes, and it took quite some time until 2021. That's when we developed the regulations. So those regulations, if you look at them, they're very good in terms of regulating the traditional advertisements, so to speak, but they fall short of regulation of the digital marketing. And that's the question that we are faced with right now. And we are looking forward to begin the conversations to be able to enshrine that into law. The opportunity that we have right now, last year, His Excellency the President actually ascended to a law called the Digital Health Law. That is a very good platform for us to be able now to anchor on and bring in issues to do with the breast milk substitute advertisement. And that is the opportunity that we are looking at. So I was told by my boss when I was coming here that if I must say just one sentence, I should say that Kenya really supports the work that WHO is doing in promotion of exclusive breastfeeding. And therefore, we're in support of the proposed resolution that is going to be put in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and for highlighting so beautifully your comprehensive regulations, but that practical gap around digital marketing and the challenge that that presents. And I really welcome, I'm sure we all do, the intention to extend that in the near future. I'm wondering if we move now to Lesotho, and Dr. Makoso, whether you would like to share some of the experience from your country.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. As mentioned, yes, we are all having challenges with the digital marketing of the breast milk substitutes. We have a lot of advertising groups, like it has been mentioned earlier, in social media, which anyone can access easily, and which we don't have restrictions a lot on that. And where breastfeeding is now considered as an old-fashioned way of feeding children by some communities. And also we have also Facebook pages. We have some programs on TV which also their practices maybe they hamper in breastfeeding practices, such as use of tummies and children formula fed, using bottles and teats. And this is also a challenge in the developing countries because it puts children at risk of infections due to poor hygiene, and that's why we also recommend the use of cups for feeding infants. But in Lesotho, we have noticed the decline also in the exclusive breastfeeding due to all these challenges which have been mentioned. In 2009, we were at 54%, and in 2014, 67% of the Lesotho Demographic Health Survey. However, in 2018, the breastfeeding was 59% when we did the multiple indicator cluster surveys. Hopefully, we'll see some improvement. We are not hoping to see the decline because we just had the Lesotho Demographic Health Survey, which we are still waiting to finalize the report. And we do have the draft of the National Code, which I think it is very important that we should review and finalize. We have budget for that. And now we are working hand in hand with also the social cluster in Parliament to support us in finalizing and also putting in action. And then there's need to capacitate the healthcare workers and on baby-friendly hospital initiatives, so that which we think can improve all this in implementing the code activities. Thank you very much.
I wonder if I could ask you whether there's anything particular around digital marketing you would like to add to what you've shared, particular challenges.
I think the challenge which we think that Lesotho it pledges to co-sponsor the resolution on regulatory measures aimed at restricting digital marketing of breast milk substitutes under the guidance of WHO.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. thank you very much for sharing all that with us today at this event. So moving on now to hearing from Brazil. We've got Dr. Ana Estela Haddad. Would you like to share with the audience here today how Brazil is experiencing the digital marketing of breast milk substitutes and what you might be able to do about it?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to congratulate with the state members here, also to congratulate the outstanding panelists that came before bringing so precious information, and I'd like to congratulate with the IBFAM, and especially with Marina Hea, that represents IBFAM in Brazil. Thank you. And first of all, I would like to say that our minister, Nízia Trindade, she wanted and she planned to be here personally, but we are right now in a very delicate situation. We have a climate emergency in the south of the country, and people are suffering too much underwater for many days. So she decided to stay, and that's why we are here, so in her name. And I think that it was very clear from the panel, the first panel, that the marketing strategies used by commercial milk formula and baby food companies can distort scientific evidence, legitimate their claims to promote their products. The marketing applies to these products explores family doubts and concerns about infant nutrition, acting strategically by influencing the guidance of health professionals. We have in Brazil, we have a goal to achieve, according to the WHO, by 2030 to reach 70% of children under 6 months on exclusively breastfeeding, and 60% on continued feeding until 2 years of age. The most recent national survey done in 2019 showed that we have 45.8% of Brazilian children under 6 months of age are exclusively breastfed, and 35.5% are continuously breastfed until the 2nd year of age. I think that one strength that we have in our unified health system, which covers 70% of our population, 150 million persons, depends only upon our unified health system. And it's based on primary health care. We have family strategy teams, and we have community health workers. They are 300,000 health workers. They visit families and they fully support breastfeeding. So it's like face to face, and they are usually persons from the community. So they are very trustful. I don't think this is enough, but I think it's a strength that we have, and that's why maybe we have these numbers that I'm telling you. But we are fully engaged. Our minister is fully engaged in this matter, and Brazil is working hard so that we can have at the next assembly the resolution voted. We are articulating the countries as we can so that we can have as much as support as possible. We have already 13 countries that are with us. We have, well, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Syria, Jamaica, Kenya, Slovakia, Uruguay, Bolivia, Thailand, Botswana, El Salvador, and Mexico. So we are working, and I'm sure that for the next assembly, we may have it done. Okay, thank you.
That's really wonderful news. It's really interesting to hear about your kind of grassroots health workers, and I'm just wondering whether that in some way combats the challenge that Agnes was highlighting around sort of trusted influencers. Do you see that kind of influencer arena also happening?
Well, that's for sure. I will take the advantage to make a personal statement, because as a mother of 2 kids and also as a health professional, I am specialized in pediatric dentistry. I fully support breastfeeding. I think it's the best thing in the world that we do for our kids. You know, you do it and it's forever. And we had a program inside the strategy of family health that we do a course with capacity health building with the community health workers, for them to have the knowledge that give them the confidence to work with families. And inside this program, this course, I had a meeting with a group of them, and one of them told me that she was with them. They are mostly women. There are some men, but mostly are women. And she was in a visit with a woman, and this woman had gone to a consultation with a physician, and she came back with a formula recipe. And this community health worker would tell us, you know, she had milk, and she was ready to breastfeeding her baby, and she was insecure. And we took like 1 hour conversation. The physician consultation took 10, 15 minutes, and the health worker, the community health worker, without money being paid for that, stayed with her 1 hour, 2 hours, and visit again. And then she told us, you know, I told her, maybe you won't be able, but let's try. And they cried together, and they tried, and she made it. And after that, she was very happy with the results. So I think, you know, it's a small story, but I think that things can change also in the micro space locally if we can work. It's not enough, even especially in times of social media, because we are talking about billions, and it's terrible. But I think that we may go both ways and support people locally.
So much. It's lovely to have that story of one mother, one baby, one dyad at a time being supported in that way to kind of counter some of the challenges we've identified. So it would be lovely to hear now about the Bangladesh experience from Dr. Afrina Mahmood. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And the chair, thank you for asking me the question. Our today's event, that is the digital marketing of breast milk substitute, is a critical issue in respect of public health. And the most vulnerable members of this group are mother, infants, and the young children. So it is a quite time-being topics here. In Bangladesh, we have made significant strides to improving maternal and child health outcomes over the years. We become a champion on exclusive breastfeeding. However, the aggressive marketing techniques employed by the baby feeding products industries pose a grave threat to the health of the well-being of our mothers and children. Digital marketing has emerged as powerful tools to use to promote breast milk substitutes and complementary foods, often at the expenses of optimal breastfeeding practices. Our Honorable Prime Minister is very much committed to improve the nutritional status of Bangladesh, and she has given directives how we can aware the people, general people about the breastfeeding processes also. And we know that the breastfeeding is the cornerstone of the infant and young children, providing unparalleled health benefits to the critical nutrients essential for growth and development. Yet, the proliferation of the digital marketing platforms had made it increasingly challenging for the mothers to make informed choices about feeding their infants. Misleading advertisement and persuasive techniques employed by the companies undermine the breastfeeding. We, Bangladesh, have a breast milk substitute act from 2013, and there is a rules that produces in 2017. So we are very much ahead of the things, but there is exclusive breastfeeding that is up to 6 months is 55% now, according to the 2022 survey. But we have also a strong monitoring system also we have established. That is no digital baby feeding foods can be advertised in our public, that is radio or TV, but we cannot hands on the digital social media.
Okay.
So these things is still challenging.
But that's super encouraging to see that you're controlling it on the TV and radio.
Yes,
that's
yes.
Really good. Okay.
But there is some, we have also public awareness program. We have some guidelines also, but the awareness program should be also digitalized. That could be help in mitigate the challenge also. And
just to interrupt you a moment, the monitoring you're talking about, you sound like is going very well. Are there plans to extend that to the digital marketing space? Are there any preparations underway for the current climate that we are now in?
Yes, yes, we are planning to do how can it take into the next level. The awareness program, we want to design it more differently now to mitigate the challenge. And also, the digital tools can be also help to making the awareness programs in favor of the breastfeeding.
So you're focusing on counter promotion effectively
yeah.
by flooding social media with positive how to support Dianes to successfully breastfeed. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have you got anything else to add? Have you got to the end? We can come back. There's more time for questions. Lovely. So that brings us on to Dr. Ricardo Lopez, who's from Mexico. Would you like to outline for us and the audience here today the situation regarding the challenge of digital marketing in Mexico and what you might be undertaking to mitigate that particular challenge?
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks a lot to you, Patty and Magda, for this invitation. Thank you very much. It's very lovely to meet you and to participate in this side event. My oldest son, mom, was born in 1981 with the International Code of Breast Milk Substitutes. And 17 years ago, we had the privilege to be parents of Ricardo, my oldest son. He was breastfed for over 6 months, but then it was interrupted because she started working. One very important determinant of breastfeeding. In 1981, there was no digital marketing. And 2007, no digital marketing. But in 5 to 10 years ago, this is like a tsunami of moving digital marketing and having our free will taken away. We don't make decisions. We think we make decisions, but we really don't. And it's for breastfeeding and for other purchasing issues like products, with the ultra-processed products. Why am I telling this story? Because we in Mexico changed a norm to put labeling, front labeling to these products. And that was because our National Institute of Public Health had the scientific evidence on how we made decisions on our purchasing. And it's the same thing for breastfeeding. Patty, I really think that we're one of those countries with less than 50 points because we have 28% of exclusive breastfeeding in Mexico. Less than 30%. That's a crisis. That's awful. That's terrible. And that's due to marketing. Years ago, marketing was for us, healthcare workers, and they went to, and here you have 100 of cans for your patients for free. Let me tell you something. That's the way that drug dealers work. They give you the first doses for free. That's awful, and that's a crisis. Now, we've worked on this front package labeling, and we need to change our rulings of publicity. And where do you think it all came into a bump? Digital marketing. How could we control it? How can we monitor it? Because with TV or with radio, it's mostly easier, but not with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and probably thousands of platforms that could go with digital marketing for 2 cents or for thousands of dollars. It depends on what you put into the digital marketing that it's going to go with thousands or millions of people that it's
So is Mexico specifically looking at anything in terms of using AI technologies or anything of that nature to enhance the monitoring in the digital space?
Yes.
Are you going there? Are
yes,
you looking at that?
We're going there by specifically changing the rules of publicity and marketing and having these new tools, artificial intelligence, to monitor how are they moving in the digital world. Also, as Patty said, there's a lot of resolutions or decisions in the WHA, but there's always a new one that we could have because the world is changing and we have the obligation now to put into a resolution for digital marketing. And we thank Brazil to sponsor this specifically and to put it into the 78th World Health Assembly, and we will support and fight this problem as we said, we say in Mexico, shoulder with Brazil and the rest of the countries that will support this. Nigel, Larry, the guidance from WHO can be revised and commented by everyone, right? In the process of publishing such guidances, is it a consultation?
Could happen, it is now published.
Yeah, but in the process, and probably that includes the industry. Yeah, how many comments from the industry did you get? I mean, I could imagine, because we published this norm and we had like 5,000 comments, including tons of them by the industry. So
I haven't done a count, but they all sort of came together under the joint.
yes, let's take this. There's no free will, and as we speak, someone's listening in here. And when you say, "Oh my God, I'm so tired, I need vacation," then suddenly, Air France, hotel Warwick, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Right? And that's the same thing with breastfeeding. So we have to move along as a whole society, including governments, to tackle this crisis and to put digital marketing into not an end, because it's now our way of life, but just to put a stop on how they are influencing this 30% of exclusive breastfeeding in Mexico and other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Ricardo, thank you very much, and thank you to all the member states. I just wonder if we've got time for just one broader question, really focusing on monitoring, because that's so vital to then taking any action. Is there anything that any of you would like to add to the discussions on monitoring in your own countries? What you might be doing, what you might be planning to do? Is there anything any of you would like to share about that?
I would like.
Yes, please do.
Well, I would like to mention that ABFAM Brazil, collaborating with IDEC, the Brazilian Institute of Consumer Defense, carries out an annual monitoring. Isn't that, Marina? Annual monitoring of compliance with the code. And during the pandemic of COVID-19 in 2020, yes, you have a report that I'm going to my home lesson to read. They found 389 infractions on the internet. They monitoring. We also have a National Health Surveillance Agency that the body is responsible, Anvisa, which is responsible for monitoring the code in Brazil. For sure that we must improve. But we also, I was also thinking, because I right now am at the Secretary of Information and Digital Health for health. But in this government, this third mandate of President Lula, we are in a movement of creating secretariats of the digital in different fields. And in the communication secretariat, the presidency communication secretariat, we have a secretariat of digital policies. And right now, we are working on a manual for parents, for teachers, to reduce the screen time of children, but also to give, let's say, more awareness to people about, because we have to amplify literacy, digital literacy, or let's say citizen to the digital citizenship, so that we can be more critical in the use of ICT broadly. as a society, because otherwise we will be just, you know, trying to dry up things that we cannot control. So society must get awareness of digital marketing, but also how to critically use ICT and fake news, because it's about breastfeeding, it's about excitation of vaccination, it's about politics, it's about everything in our lives. This digital world is going, we are going through difficulties. Well,
It's a very fast-moving world, isn't it, right now? Well, thank you very much to the panelists here for that section of this evening. I'd like to invite you to just stay for a moment whilst we have closing remarks. I'd like to invite Karen Courtney from UNICEF. She's the Regional Nutrition Specialist with UNICEF Europe and Central Asian Regional Office. She has worked to support and strengthening the code implementation in many countries, spanning Southern Africa, East and South Asia, and now Europe and Central Asia. Have you got room? We're quite tightly squeezed here, and I feel like we've lost a mic. Did we lose a mic? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and it's lovely to see so many people still here. I'll start with just a little story, just to reinforce a lot of what has already been said. Oh, I'm being told I'm in danger of falling off. It was all too much. It was all too much. So before I came here this evening, earlier today, I did a Google search. I just typed in, how should I feed my infant, you know, now that they're 5 months, 4 months, etc. And by the time I left this evening to come here, my inbox and my social media feeds were just flooded. So it happens. It really does happen, and I'm sure that, you know, you've experienced it as well. So everyone is affected by digital marketing, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter how old you are. But it's critically important that it's regulated, particularly when we're talking about infants, because they are our most vulnerable of all. So let me just start with the thank yous for this event. And I'd first like to thank the panelists from our member states, from Kenya, Lesotho, Brazil, Bangladesh, Mexico. I'm proud to say that I've been to at least 3 of those countries. And it's really, really enheartening to hear what they've been doing, but also that we're in it together. So all of you shared the same thing, the same challenges. And I think that that's really something that I want us to go away from today, knowing that you're not alone in your endeavours to fight this. So the discussion tonight succeeded in bringing attention to the concerning rise of the aggressive marketing. It also shed light on the pervasive and misleading impact that that's having on the pregnant women, and particularly on infants and children and parents as a whole. The digital environments are fast becoming the predominant form of marketing, which we know, and not just for breast milk, but for a lot of other things, including unhealthy foods. This is amplifying the reach. You know, as I think Paddy was saying and colleagues have said, in 1981, there was no such thing. You could only turn on your television or your radio. Now, digital marketing is reaching you wherever you are at whatever time of day or night. And as we've heard, mostly during people's most vulnerable times. So what can we do, I think, is really, you know, the question. Larry's already told us what we can do. The guidance is there. And whilst we wait for a resolution, use the guidance. Put it into practice. Go back and implement the guidance. And I can assure you that WHO and UNICEF will continue supporting your efforts as member states to implement that guidance. But in the meantime, keep recording and tracking what's happening. Tell the story of how the digital marketing is affecting your efforts as government to strengthen your code laws. Document how it's affecting women. Tell the stories, because it's the stories that really, really hit home and that we resonate with. So with that, I just want to finish up by saying a big thank you to the other organisers of this event. It's been a wonderful evening. I hope everyone has learned something new, been motivated, been inspired, and to remember that we're all in this together. And the tsunami of marketing that we've heard from Mexico, let's have a tsunami of action against it. So with that, thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Karen, for ending on a sort of positive note. So as we bring the formal part of this meeting to a close, I'd like us to reflect on the very thought-provoking and engaging evening. And I urge you all to commit to identifying what actions you can take at a country level to protect the public from the harms of digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. And I invite all member states to consider co-sponsoring Brazil's resolution planned for WHA 78 and adopting the WHO digital marketing guidance. Also, do seize on the opportunity to ask any of our wonderful speakers and panelists here any unanswered questions you may have as we invite you to join us in the reception. You have a question? You do? No, not a question. Excellent. Many thanks. Right, I'd like to move on to thanks now, sorry. Many thanks to all who've been involved in planning and the delivery of this event today. Also, I'd like to thank our co-hosts, our co-sponsors, and our speakers. And we now invite you to connect with each other, build alliances, and prepare to take action together. Many thanks.